Hey YouTube, it's raining here. I just wanted to do an update on my benzo experience and withdrawal. And I'm probably going to say some things in this video that are controversial. Well, I know I am. And I'm really going to try to reach out and get some advice from some other people. I feel I've done as much personal research as I can, but I want to throw it out there for the community. And today marks my, let's see, 35th month off of Xanax that I did for 6 years. At my peak, I was doing about 1 to 2 milligrams a day, and that's when I decided to quit. So anyway, how am I doing? Well, I'll get to that in a minute. If you see my other videos, you probably have been following me, but I've got a lot of thoughts, and I've just finished my second neuropsychiatry book. I've been reading a lot of Dr. Stife stuff. I've been reading, trying to learn the pharmacology of medications, supplements, and really what's going on in the brain at a chemical or a neurochemical level. So I'll talk a little bit about that to give you some insight into what anxiety is, because in the beginning I just, took it for what it was, what the doctor said, and took the medication, and I felt better as a result. But over the years, things would get really bad for me. So anxiety, let's just start there, the basics. There's multiple ways anxiety can manifest, and there's a lot of underlying causes. Everybody's different. Everybody's genetic makeup is different. But in the natural environment, anxiety outside of being chased from a bear is not a normal feature of humankind. So we're supposed to have very limited stress and anxiety, which causes I believe the hypothalamus to go into overdrive, releasing cortisol. That causes glutamate and epinephrine to sort of be released into the bloodstream so that you can get to where you need to be or fight your way through what you need to fight through. It's a survival instinct. I feel like a lot of people already know that. I didn't know that when I was first prescribed Xanax. And basically what's happening is your neurons communicate. Your neuron communicates with the postsynaptic neuron, the amygdala, which has the tiny little, I guess they're like holes, and then the upper neuron, GABA, wants to sync. There's like a little space between the two. It's called a synapse, and the synapse is where they communicate. So this is the neuron, the GABA neuron, firing the GABA to stop this response, this high glutamate response. So once this is stopped or slowed, then you start to feel normal. Well, on here you have multiple holes that this can fire into, and those are called receptors. And I won't get into the actual chemicals, but there's calcium and sodium and chloride and so forth that all take place here. Well, as this fires, it gets reuptake back into the neuron, and it continues to fire to fill those holes. Well, when you're on a benzo for a long period of time, supposedly these receptors down here become downregulated, and sort of they go away. So instead of like maybe you had 5, now you have 1. So now they're competing, and you're in a constant state of anxiety and fear because you don't have enough receptor sites available. So that being said, there's a lot of scary stuff online. I mean, a lot of scary stuff. And I bought into a lot of it. And I'm not saying there's not some truth to some of that, because there absolutely is some truth there. So there's the Ashton Manual. There's a lot of research. The Ashton Manual is quickly becoming outdated. And there's a book by Dr. Stife that you can get. He's detoxed thousands, more than 4,000 people from opiates, alcohol, and benzos. He detoxes people from high doses of benzos 6 to 10 milligrams a day, and he can do it within like a week using his methodologies, his modalities of. I know it sounds crazy. I just listened to his book. I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm not going to argue with you that he is or he is not doing these things. But supposedly he uses some other medications I'll talk about, which I'm getting ready to experiment with. So anyway, well, the first one I'll just say there's a medication called, what is it? Not Camprol. I'll talk about that one later. But baclofen, I'm sure you all know about that. Well, it's a GABA B. It hits the GABA B receptor, and in that way, it can give GABA A a break while reducing anxiety. I personally took gabapentin when I first got off of benzos. I didn't have a lot of the side effects people had. I had debilitating anxiety, and that manifested itself into burning skin all over my body. And that was debilitating. So my big question has been, was it a benzo withdrawal causing the burning, or was it the extreme anxiety, which is a indirect result of benzo withdrawal, causing the burning skin? So I suffered through that for quite a while, and then went to my doctor, and he suggested gabapentin. I was off of all medications, and I didn't want to take anything. I had this idea that I could find natural ways, and for the past 3 years now, I have tried every single supplement known to man, from theanine to inositol, bacopa, ashwagandha, every GABA analog, every everything you could possibly think of, from nootropics to amino acids. I've done a mostly paleo diet. I've given up dairy, sugar, and by the way, I've had I'm not going to sit here and say that I haven't had some success with some of the stuff. To sleep at night really helps me. Magnesium and 5-HTP with a little melatonin. I've been sleeping a lot better. But so I was just trying to figure out how to get better, as we all are. And in my opinion, throughout everything I've learned, through all the books I've read, and the thousands of people that I've communicated with over the past few years, it is my determination. I'm not a doctor. I'm a self-studied pharmacology student, you should say, and I have been working on a nutrition degree as well. So, and also a sufferer, and so I know what I'm giving out here is based off of clinical research I've done through the National Institute of Mental Health, articles from PubMed. I don't talk about anything that isn't cited through medical journals. So it's important to understand where I'm at. So I just wasn't getting better. Well, I'm sorry, let me back up. I took gabapentin. I got up to about 800 milligrams, and my burning went away. And I felt really manic. I felt a little drunk, but I felt pretty good. I was taking St. John's wort with it, and I didn't like exactly how I felt, but I went from not being able to function and being on fire to driving a couple hundred miles with my fiance at the time. We've been married now, but she to a family vacation, and I had a good time. I walked the dunes with my mother. I still had some burning at the time. It faded after I got home. But so yeah, I quit benzos in May, and then yeah, that was like, I think, in June or July. So it's about took effect pretty quickly. But I didn't like that manic phase. I didn't like that manicness. So I decided to kind of wind down. The gabapentin was a means to an end for me. And as I winded down, I got to a dose very low, and then I ended up jumping off of it and went into a panic attack. The next day, everything got really, really, really bad again. So I had to increase the gabapentin to a certain point, usually 500 to 600 milligrams, and then I can sort of back down to like 300-ish. So I'm somewhere between 3 and let's just say 700 a day. And that was the only thing I had taken. But the gabapentin makes me feel more depressed. And I went to see a therapist, and I was trying to figure out the root cause for my anxiety. Now, obviously, a neurochemical imbalance, but that can be caused by multiple factors. I mean, you could have low omega-3s in your brain that can cause depression. Depression can cause anxiety. There's a lot of things that we can do through exercise and things like that, diet change, lifestyle change, that can lend itself to. There's a book called The Depression Cure, things like that. So my biggest symptom and side effect that was the worst at that point was derealization, and it wasn't as bad as some people's, and it slowly got better, and I didn't even realize how much it was getting better until I sort of fell back. So I decided to give Lamictal a try about a year ago after many failed attempts at herbals, and I had a panic attack. And mostly I don't really get panic attacks. I just kind of feel off all the time. And what I'm getting at is this isn't benzo withdrawal, what I'm going through. I had a really, really bad panic disorder. I mean, I couldn't even leave my house when I got on Xanax. So the benzo receptors are definitely, healed at this point. And most people's do. Most people's heal pretty quickly. There's a lot of horror stories online, and some people are dealing with those post-acute withdrawal symptoms, but that's not everybody. So more than likely, you're going to be okay. But for me, it was the underlying anxiety disorder and mood disorder that I have from childhood trauma that I experienced, and years of chronic health condition that I dealt with that led to post-traumatic stress disorder. So I have a lot of issues now that I'm trying to see that I'm seeing that are part of the problem. Now, I thought I could solve all this naturally. I run 30 miles a week and so forth, but and some people can. What I've realized is I've given up a lot of things trying to get better naturally, and if you study the human brain and its effects, anxiety's effects, it shrinks the brain, it causes fear neurons and fear circuits to expand, and it harms your memory. It can lead to Alzheimer's. It can lead to all kinds of health issues. Anxiety by itself is extremely damaging, and in my case can lead to depression, and then depression can cause even further damage to the brain. This is fact. And what am I going to do with that knowledge? I'm not sure, but I'm going to go down the route of possible medication again. I'm looking at a drug called Campril, which is pretty amazing in its method of action. It actually supposedly balances glutamate and GABA, which on the surface, in theory, would be a perfect medication. It works. People coming off alcohol, they pretty much can come straight off and feel really great. So if it works for them, there could be possibility that could work for benzo withdrawal. Not that I'm going through benzo withdrawal, but I think that I have an imbalance with GABA, because obviously when I enhanced my GABA, I felt normal. So, which is why a lot of people who are alcoholics are typically people that have GABA deficiency. So they self-medicate. And that's sort of what leads to these addictions. I never was quote-unquote addicted. I never really thought about it. I hate drugs. I don't like to be high. I took it for, as needed, and to feel normal. Like I said, about 1 milligram to 2 milligrams a day after 6 years, and I stopped it. So I'm thinking about trying this medication, Campril, and see how I feel, because lamotrigine is I was having success with it actually, slowing down glutamate. I felt like I was finally coming through this depression, and then all of a sudden, boom, I just started having panic attacks again when I tried to up the Lamictal. So I'm trying to balance that out. I'm trying to figure it out on my own. I know it's best, and for me, And I've had some success, and I've had some good days and bad days, but you gotta ride out the bad ones. And I've had windows, I've had whole days where I just felt great and I felt alive. So we've got to hold on to those days. So that's important. But for the most part, I'm just saying that some people deal with a lot, and there's a lot of stuff out there that can help. I mean, theanine, for example, is studied to be more effective than lorazepam in clinical studies by the National Institute of Mental Health. I mean, you could look that up. That's insane. But when I took theanine, my brain fog went through the roof. So over these years, I've realized that supplements for me cause, in a lot of ways, more side effects than the anticonvulsants and the the GABAergic drugs. So I'm not promoting benzos or medication. I'm just telling you my experience. And I want to live life again. And I watch these videos. And when I was on Lamictal, I got to a point where I wasn't on these videos. I wasn't watching it. I was done. I just felt like I could live my life. And all that sort of gone away as I've tried to come off the meds and take natural supplements. So I'm 32 years old now. I've lost the past 9 years to anxiety, most notably the past 4 years, and then before that I lost a lot of years to pain. So I'm really trying to get my life back, and I don't want to lose my 30s. So I know a lot of people who do really well on medications, and so I don't want to be on medication forever, but that's sort of where I'm at in my head right now. And if I can get stable and then try to come off of some things eventually, that's going to be, in my opinion, healthier than suffering and having my brain shrink as it is right now. So I'd like to get your thoughts on this, and if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. I know this is controversial, medication versus non-medication. A lot of people think you can just take, just get over it sort of thing. I wish you could be in my head for a day. For me personally, like I said, the depersonalization, so it's a dark cloud. I push myself. I go out, I go places, I go to the park, I go running, but I always feel angry, irritable, and it's just horrible. It's a horrible feeling to wake up that way, go to bed that way, and feel off and pressure in your head. And I've seen the other side. So there is another side, and it's there, and a lot of people will get there sooner. But anyway, I'm 3 years out, and I've had successes and I've had failures, and I'm getting ready to embark on a new methodology, and I'll keep you guys updated on how I do. Hopefully I'm going to be all the way through this thing in the next month or so. So God bless you guys, and subscribe, and I'll keep you updated. Thanks.